The year was 1943. The USS Sentinel was a small destroyer escort, a tin can tossed about by the mountainous waves of the North Atlantic. Its mission was simple but terrifying: protect the slow-moving merchant ships carrying food and fuel to England from the wolf packs of German U-boats lurking in the dark depths. Petty Officer Elias Echothorn lived in a world of sound. He was the sonarman, tucked away in a cramped, dark cabin below the waterline. While the lookouts on the bridge froze in the biting wind and sleet, Elias sat in the humid, oil-scented dark, his ears clamped in heavy leather headphones. The cold, dark void life on the Sentinel was a constant battle against gravity. The ship didn't just sail. It pitched, rolled, and slammed into the waves with a force that made the steel plates groan. The men lived in a state of permanent exhaustion, sleeping in damp bunks and eating red lead, stewed tomatoes, and hardtack. "Hear anything, Echo?" The captain's voice would crackle through the voice pipe, sounding thin and metallic. Elias would close his eyes, tuning out the roar of his own ship's engines. "Just the whales, sir, and the ice scraping against the hull. It's quiet. Too quiet." The ghost in the deep. One moonless Tuesday, a heavy fog descended, thick enough to swallow the entire convoy. The radar was cluttered with sea return, the reflections of the massive waves making it useless. The ship was blind. Suddenly, Elias's body tensed. Through the chaotic noise of the storm, he heard it. Chirp. Chirp ... chirp. It wasn't a biological sound. It was the high-pitched ping of an enemy sonar searching for a target. Then a second sound followed, the slow, rhythmic thrum-thrum-thrum of a heavy electric motor. "Contact, bearing 095, Elias shouted. "Submarine. He's lining up for a shot on the lead tanker." The duel of shadows. The Sentinel roared to life. The depth charge crews scrambled onto the wet, slippery deck, the freezing spray stinging their eyes. But the U-boat was clever. It dived deep, hiding in a thermal layer, a pocket of warm water that reflected sonar beams like a mirror. "I lost him, sir," Elias yelled, his heart hammering against his ribs. "The layer is bouncing the signal." The captain's voice came back, calm but grim. "If he gets under that tanker, we can't drop charges without blowing up the convoy. Find him, Echo. Find his heartbeat." Elias turned the gain on his equipment to the absolute maximum. The static roared in his ears like a physical pain. He ignored the dials and focused on the feeling of the sound. He began to hum a low, steady note, using his own voice to find a frequency that would pierce the thermal layer. There, a tiny metallic clink. The sound of a wrench being dropped on a steel floor, 100 feet below the sea. He's at 300 feet, moving slow to port. He's trying to slip under our wake. The thunder underwater, the Sentinel banked sharply, the hull screaming as it fought the current. Patterns away. K-boom, 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 the ocean erupted. Massive geysers of white foam and black oil shot into the air. The shockwaves hit the Sentinel like a giant's hammer, throwing men against the bulkheads. In his cabin, Elias felt the pressure in his ears, but he didn't take off the headphones. He listened. He heard the screech of twisting metal. He heard the terrifying whoosh of air escaping a collapsing hull. And then, the most haunting sound of all, the silence of the deep reclaiming its own. The morning light, when the sun finally broke through the fog the next morning, it revealed a vast oil slick and pieces of cork floating on the surface. The convoy was safe. The lead tanker, carrying enough fuel to keep the London ambulances running for a month, steamed on, oblivious to the death that had almost touched it. Elias walked up to the deck, his first time seeing the sky in 24 hours. His face was pale, and his ears were ringing, but he took a deep breath of the freezing, salt-laden air. The captain walked over and handed him a heavy, wool-lined coat. "You've got good ears, Thorn. You saved 300 men tonight." Elias looked out at the gray, endless water. He didn't feel like a hero. He felt the weight of the sound he had heard, the sound of a ship dying in the dark. "The ocean is a loud place, sir," Elias whispered. "I'm just glad I could hear the right part of it." The war in the Atlantic would continue for 2 more years. The Sentinel would eventually be retired, and Elias would go back to a quiet farm in Iowa, where the only sounds were the wind in the corn and the chirping of crickets. But every time he heard a distant metallic thud, he would stop, close his eyes, and remember the night he held the heartbeat of a convoy in his hands.